before we get into the video, I just want to introduce myself to you guys. I'm Justin, and I'm a fellow content creator here on this illustrious platform known to the public as YouTube. Today, as of today, I am a new addition here to Wicked Rails. So this is going to be fun for me. I guess you can say a new enthusiast, if you will. I've always enjoyed roller coasters, but I'm new to this world of enthusiasm about them. So this is going to be my first actual time recording video, so this should be pretty fun for you guys to laugh at the new kid. Today's video is on Kingda, so let's just jump into it.
We are coming up to the 15-year anniversary of the world's tallest roller coaster, as well as the world's, second fastest, Kingda. As of right now, we're not currently able to go to Six Flags Great Adventure, as was predicted in the last video. So we thought it'd be a good time to review it. So today we're going to give you a brief history as well as our thoughts on the ride. Hopefully you'll get to hear some facts that you didn't know, and hopefully you'll have a good time. On May 21st, 2005, Kingda was opened as the world's fastest and tallest roller coaster, at an incredible 456 feet tall. Before its opening day, it was called the Rocket Coaster by many enthusiasts, and for an understandable reason, as at the time it was the tallest roller coaster by 36 feet. And it was also the fastest, beating the previous record by 8 miles per hour. That previous record, by the way, both of them were held by Top Thrill Dragster, which was the world's tallest coaster at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. However, Kingda is no longer the fastest coaster in the world, as the record is currently held by Formula Rossa in Abu Dhabi. Kingda is the sixth acceleration coaster that was built by Swiss manufacturer Intamin for a cost of around 25 million USD, which, accounting for inflation, would cost closer to $35 million today. The coaster was the first attraction in the Golden Kingdom land at Six Flags Great Adventure, which was opened with the coaster. It's still there to this day, and Kingda is the only roller coaster in that area. And it remained the main attraction of the Golden Kingdom until the world's tallest drop tower, Zoomin Djaro, Drop of Doom, opened in 2014. Once on the ride, the suspense is the scariest part. While you are waiting for the launch, you hear the hydraulic system in the magnetic drakes lower with a hiss as the terror begins to set in. You are sent careening down the track at 128 miles per hour in under 3.5 seconds. That's the faster acceleration than the Tesla Roadster version 2. During this, you pull around 1.7 Gs just from acceleration, that being forward Gs, of course. And later in the ride, you pull a whopping 5 Gs. After the hydraulic launch track, you're sent up a 90-degree climb until you reach the top hat, where you will get a great view of the park for a few seconds, until you're sent down a 418-foot, 270 degrees heart-line roll, and then you level out, traveling at 120 miles per hour. After the main hill, the coaster ascends a 129-foot airtime hill, where magnetic brakes slow you down to a reasonable speed before returning to the station. And all of that happens in 28 seconds. Now, it's an amazing coaster, but it's important to point out that there are criticisms of it. And here are my critiques, in no particular order. Critique number 1. No lap bars. Although it may not matter to some people, a lot of people are in agreement that the vest restraints that on a coaster can make it or break it, and sadly, for a lot of people, the vest restraints that Intamin used broke the coaster. Unlike Top Thrill Dragster, there's no lap bar. They use Intamin's vest restraints. This is due to a New Jersey law where any ride that's over 300 feet has to have over-the-shoulder restraints, which sadly takes away from a lot of the floater airtime you'd get on the top hat and the bunny hill. Critique number 2. Design faults. For some insane reason, the supports that were made to hold up the hydraulic launch track were built with no lateral cross bracing. Now, it's still perfectly safe to ride as it's only 38 feet off the ground. But you might be wondering, why is this a problem? Well, sit in the back row and tell me. Due to the lack of cross bracing, the train will sway with the front car. In the front car, you'll probably not feel this, but in any other car, you'll feel it, increasingly so the farther back that you get on the train. Another design fault was the block sections. Now, I'm not going to get into major detail on how the block sections work, as it's very complicated. El Toro Ryan did a great video. The link will be in the description below. All we need to know is that it was originally meant to have 4 block zones, not counting the brake run. as the brake run was only made to slow you down to a somewhat complete stop. And it was also made to run with 4 trains. However, it runs with less trains nowadays, and there's 5 block zones, which in theory should add to capacity, but because of our next point, it doesn't, and it only slows the throughput. Critique 3. Zoomin Djaro. Zoomin Djaro, the world's tallest drop tower, has caused many riders a bad day. Due to New Jersey regulations on amusement rides, there's a fear of debris and objects falling from Kingda and hitting Zoomin Djaro, and vice versa, so it's not allowed to be running at the same time as a train is launching. Due to this, they typically alternate between the 2 rides running. Despite official numbers from Six Flags, it's believed that this cuts capacity to only 638 riders per hour, compared to the 1,000 it could do before. That means only 36 launches an hour. Final critique. Like all coasters made by Intamin, the ride has a tendency to, break down. This tendency is because of the groundbreaking technology that Intamin tends to use. But that doesn't change the fact that it's often closed. But if you're lucky, it will be open. And maybe you'll be in for an especially good treat on a windy day. You may have seen a video or two of rollback. Rollback occurs when the train does not launch fast enough to crest over the hill, so it rolls back. This will lead you descending down a 456-foot hill backwards. But don't worry, those magnetic fins that we talked about earlier, remember those? Those deploy right after launch to slow you down in case of rollback. Now, there's no exact information as to when a rollback occurs, but most often this happens when winds are hitting you and pushing you down. Speaking of hitting you, Jack's here to hit us with his opinions on the ride.
I have to say Kingda is actually my favorite coaster that I've ever ridden, at least tied with Wicked Cyclone. This is really just because I like the idea of going so fast and high up, and it just seems like one of the most extreme coasters out there. And it really pushes the point that roller coasters are the one thing that any average person can do to have incredible G-forces on their body and go through incredible aerobatic maneuvers that are comparable to what fighter pilots receive, and that's just an experience everyone should have. And on to Rick's segment.
Hey guys, it's Rick from Wicked Rails. Now, obviously, we have ridden this coaster before. Pretty great statement to start out with. I'm really proud of that one. I don't know how I came up with it. But I really like Kingda. Personally, I've not ridden Top Thrill Dragster, but I've heard that it is better than Ka. But for what I've ridden, I really like Ka. I think it's a good ride. I think it's very, very fun. It has like this aura surrounding it, especially for people who haven't ridden similar coasters. And I thoroughly enjoy every time I ride it. The suspense is great. The build-up is always great. Just the main problem I have with this ride is how often it shuts down, but it makes sense. It makes sense that they're going to constantly have to work on the coaster because it's so inconsistent, and the danger risk is very high, seemingly very high to people who are uninformed. The more general public will obviously see this as a dangerous ride, but it's definitely not. You're totally safe when you're going on this. Ka is extremely fun. It is a little bumpy, for sure, but I don't think that really detracts too much from the overall experience. I think the restraints are fine. I think they're actually pretty comfortable. Some people really don't like them, but I'm totally fine with them. They don't bother me at all. A lot of people would think that the height is actually what makes this such a crazy ride that so many people are so scared of, and people are scared of it because of the height. But that's not even the scary part of this ride. It doesn't really bother coaster enthusiasts that much, but for GP it might. What really is the best part of the ride, the most intense part of the ride, is the launch, because it's so forceful. This is the tallest coaster in the world. It's the second fastest coaster in the world. It's just absolutely insane, the stats for this thing. The view you get from the top, you just look at that flat New Jersey land. It's awesome. On a good day, if you look hard enough, you can see New York and Philadelphia from the top of this thing, which is kind of insane. It's definitely easier to see from Zoomin Djaro, but whatever. That's the other problem I have with this ride, is Zoomin Djaro. I've been on Zoomin Djaro once. I enjoyed it, but I will probably never ride it again because the wait is so long, and it's a drop tower. It's whatever. I'm not just a big drop tower guy, you know? But Ka itself is great. But what I was saying about Zoomin Djaro is, for some reason, New Jersey state law does not allow both the rides to be operating at the exact same... Well, operating is fine, but they can't be both running through a cycle at the same time. And Zoomin Djaro's take so long to get to the top because obviously they want their patrons to enjoy the view that you get from the top of that thing. And it is a great view. Like I said, you can see both New York and Philadelphia on a clear day. You can see their skylines in the distance, which is it's really awesome, but it's difficult for sure. But because it takes so long, you have to wait for each of the gondolas to go up and down, the trains and the gondolas. So you have to wait for the actual riders to be brought up by these things that carry them, and then they drop, and it takes a while for them to get up there, and then the gondolas that carried them up slowly come back down, and you'll be sitting Ka essentially has two stations. There's the one where you're waiting to get on, and then you'll slowly roll out to the launching point, which is kind of the second station, because you just sit there and you watch Zoomin Djaro go up and down, and it takes a while. It does, and it's kind of annoying, but there's not much you can do about it. Just the intensity of the launch is really awesome. This is the most intense coaster I have been on. It's very short, but it's very fun, and each of the elements is very memorable. The launch, the top hat, the twists going up and down, the spirals, sorry, and then the airtime hill, the massive airtime hill, where you will get launched out of your seat on that thing. It is nuts. This thing is probably Ka's the most prominent thing in the Great Adventure skyline, and that's for a reason. It's intimidating. It really is, especially for people who haven't been on it before. But it's definitely worth the experience. It's in my top 10 favorite coasters of all time, even though it certainly has its flaws. Great Adventure is a great park, and having Kingda Ka there really only adds to it. Intamin, once again, shows how prominent they are in the roller coaster world. This is one of their most memorable coasters, even though it might not be one of their very best, considering one of their best, if not their best, is in the same park with El Toro. But Kingda Ka is a great ride. If you are scared to go on it, you really shouldn't be. It's very enjoyable. I promise you'll like it. Once you ride it once, you'll get used to riding it more often. It shouldn't make you sick unless you have a very weak stomach. You really feel glued to your seat. Ka's a great ride, and I highly recommend you check it out, and everything else a Great Adventure, because it's a great park. All right, back to Jack, I guess.
Now it's time for a few quick facts. In 2009, Kingda Ka was struck by lightning, causing multiple electronic systems on the ride to break down and become very unreliable. It ended up having to be repaired by Intamin. During a test run a few months after it was first opened, a bolt failure caused damage to the launch cable. The launch cable went flying into where the queue would be. Luckily, this happened during a time when they were just testing the ride. This caused a repositioning of the queue so that if the launch cable were to ever break again, no debris would hit guests. Although many enthusiasts say that they prefer top throw drags here, one thing's for sure, Kingda Ka is not for the faint of heart. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Share it to your friend, or I don't know, whatever. Just make sure to stay safe right now. It's a dangerous world out there, and we don't want you getting hurt. Anyway, I hope you have a good day, night, place, thing, time, anywhere, alright?